It's just the whole thing. Like, for example, remember when there was like these stories of like the drag queens teaching teaching kids how to read?
Yes.
And if a dad or mom goes, yo, why are there drag queens teaching kids how to read?
Don't call me homophobic,
transphobic,
because of that shit.
Explain that shit. It's weird. It's not like we ain't all go to kindergarten.
And maybe this makes me pretentious. Maybe it makes me elitist. I just don't think it really. Look, I just talk.
No, Chris, I want you to finish what you're about to say. You don't think it what?
Impacts people's lives in a real way.
But it impacted the election.
Okay.
Even if it don't impact your life, it impacted the election.
This is the biggest cop-out. This is the biggest cop-out. No, I'm telling you it is, because when you say it doesn't impact people's lives, may I finish?
It doesn't.
May I finish?
Yeah.
If you just double down. What you're telling me, this is the messaging I get, right?
Charlemagne Tha God drops a bombshell on his own beliefs, siding with Andrew Schulz in a heated debate about the Democrats and their electoral losses. Is this a wake-up call for the progressive movement, or just another polarizing discussion about the impact of ideology on politics? Let's break this down.
This is the problem with Democrats. You can be weird or you can be pretentious, but you can't be both. And Democrats are weird and pretentious, right? Like a good example, we were talking about this on Flagrant. Remember that stupid haircut I had?
Sure.
You remember where I shaved the sides?
Oh, yeah. Which one? You've had a few.
Yeah, but the stupidest one. The one where I basically, it was like a bowl cut. Yeah.
But it was for a roll.
Right. If somebody came up to me like, why do you have the haircut? And I was like, what, do you not understand fashion? Do you not understand luxury? What are you, a Nazi? Like, how dare you judge his haircut? People would be like, shut the up, bro. You got a weird haircut. Stop acting like, and that's Democrats. But if somebody came up to me and they're like, what's up with that haircut? And I go, I know it's kind of odd. It's just a weird thing. I was trolling people and like people really annoyed about it. So I just doubled down. Then immediately those people go, oh, I get it. That's kind of fine.
If you enjoy content like this, hit like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a ton.
If you disagree with Democrat rhetoric, some of it, not all of it, some of the rhetoric, the extreme rhetoric, the reaction is, what are you, a Nazi? What are you, hateful? What are you, a bigot?
Well, we've been doing that to each other, but see, that's...
I'm not saying Republicans don't do it. I'm just saying that this is the reaction. What you have to do is when you have some things that aren't really common sense, latinx, when you have some things that are just...
They sacrificed it all at the altar of identity.
But why aren't you listening to Latinos? Latinos were the main people saying don't use Latinx.
Because they don't care.
You even keep saying Latinx. I never even heard that term.
I know. It's just the whole thing. Like, for example, remember when there was like these stories of like the drag queens teaching teaching kids how to read?
Yes.
And if a dad or mom goes, yo, why are there drag queens teaching kids how to read?
Don't call me homophobic, transphobic,
yo,
because of that shit.
Explain that shit. It's weird. It's not like we ain't all go to kindergarten.
And maybe this makes me pretentious. Maybe it makes me elitist. I just don't think it really. Look, I just talk.
No, Chris, I want you to finish what you're about to say. You don't think it what?
Impacts people's lives in a real way.
But it impacted the election.
Okay.
Even if it don't impact your life, it impacted the election.
This is the biggest cop-out. This is the biggest cop-out. No, I'm telling you it is, because when you say it doesn't impact people's lives, may I finish?
It doesn't.
May I finish?
Yeah.
If you just double down. What you're telling me, this is the messaging I get, right?
Right.
I'm telling you, this is a deal to me. And what you're telling me is that I'm weird. This is the pretentiousness that is so baked into Democratic politics that drives people crazy. I'm telling you, hey, I don't understand this and it makes me feel a little uncomfortable. And you're going, no one really cares about this. This is not a big deal. Right. What does you care about this?
It's like shut up and dribble.
Shut your mouth and dribble.
Because I'm asking questions?
And the second you do that to the majority of the country, which is what you're doing, they start going, man, fuck these guys. Let's Trump fix this whole shit. These motherfuckers went too far. I can't even ask a question. When I do, they act like I'm stupid.
I don't think Schulz is wrong, Chris. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong either.
First of all, I'm having a conversation. I'm not using that fucking voice when I have it.
He's not talking about you, Chris.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that what you're saying
Chris is fragile right now.
Chris
is fragile. Chris is going to be okay.
Yeah. See, it's annoying. It's annoying when people act pretentious, huh?
So let me get this straight. It's perfectly acceptable for those on the left to tell parents they should have no issue with drag queens teaching their children and that they should just accept it without question. But the moment someone pokes fun at their perspective or even criticizes it without being malicious, they lose their cool and lash out in anger. The double standard is unbelievable. If you're going to preach tolerance and openness, shouldn't that include being open to critique and differing opinions?
Chris, you can't do this for 4 years. You're not gonna make it, bro.
I'm telling you, get on
stress
board.
yourself out, man.
Get on board.
No,
Get
we're
on
not
board.
getting on board.
Wait, what?
Listen, it's
What?
just we're all Americans. We want what's best for America. Now,
Yeah.
I like these conversations because guess what? There is a midterm in 2 years. Then there's another presidential election in 4 years. Maybe if he does the right thing.
Can I just can I throw a real quick? Let me throw a real quick idea. Real quick idea. Wait, Chris. Real quick. If we get rid of term limits, bring Barack in for the third term.
No.
Now we talking.
No,
Now we talking.
No, I want the Constitution to keep doing what it's been doing. I want people to respect the Constitution.
Respect the Constitution. There's
That's
no
what I
third
want.
term. I 100% agree. 100%. Miles, look at me. Get me on. There you go.
But Chris,
There you go.
you said something earlier, and I just was saying it may not impact people. I agree with you. I don't think that issue impacts people's life like that,
All I'm
right?
saying,
But it impacts an election. And
And I'm speaking to the people who let that impact them, and I'm saying focus on something else.
You should say that to the politicians.
How pretentious is that? How unbearably pretentious is that?
Listen.
Somebody's knocking on your ceiling, right? You live on the third floor. The fourth floor person is tap dancing on your ceiling, and then you go, "Hey, man, that's a little bit bothersome." And they go, "It's not a big deal to most people. Just get over it." Most people don't really care.
But you know what's so crazy, Show?
They care.
I think we're forgetting what wins elections, Chris. It's always these one or two things. Like, remember when they said they tried to say George Bush had a DUI from the 70s one year? It's always like one or two things.
There was a man beating up women in the Olympics and won a gold medal. And when people were like,
it wasn't a man.
No, they just came out as a man. It was approved.
No.
They just came out as a man. It was approved. 100%. Internal testes, no menstrual cycle, XY chromosomes. The testing just came out.
Said it was XY chromosome.
No, they didn't. They weren't sure, and they called everybody transphobic for even assuming that it was. And then they also questioned like the Russian authorities for releasing some tests and that they're trying to game the Olympics. And then I'm
gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about that shit.
All right, fine.
Because what we have learned is talking about those micro issues has caused macro problems.
Exactly.
What you mean exactly? We're talking about Democrats.
He don't see it. He don't see it. They gonna keep losing. They gonna keep losing until they realize this.
By the way,
shit.
Chris, we've had this conversation off air a million times.
This is the conversation I have at every Thanksgiving and Christmas. Everyone in my family is working class, votes for Trump, MAGA, all that shit.
Oh, hell
that's what
yeah.
he's worried about. He's crazy.
Hell yeah.
I'm saying this is
did you feel the power when he said it? That shit. That felt liberating when you just said that shit, didn't it?
I say to all those people that I say
Chris.
to my own relatives, there's a line from Shakespeare, thou doth protest too much.
Woo!
You guys are awfully worked up. Shit.
So you see what he just did?
Nah, I disagree.
No, hold on.
Nah,
Charlemagne. You see what he just did? He said,
He calls us all Fraggle Maggots.
calls us Fraggle Maggots. Yo, this is the pretentiousness of the Democratic Party. If you disagree with me, you're gay.
Nah, I disagree
He
with that.
said, if you disagree with me, you're gay.
I've told you this, Chris. I'm pretty sure I told you, Schulz.
7 swing states.
When we
Mopped up.
What's shocking, though, is Charlemagne Tha God's reaction. Typically a staunch supporter of progressive values, he sided with Andrew Schulz. Charlemagne admitted that some of these issues might indeed be a distraction, opening the door to a broader critique of the party's strategy. This is a rare moment of self-reflection from someone who's deeply tied to the cultural pulse of progressive America, and it's great to watch. His boy Chris is so blinded by his woke ideology, he can't see reality. It's unbelievable, but at the same time fascinating. If there's anyone watching this video that can explain to me what that's all about, please share it in the comments.
It's true.
Mopped up, my boy. Keep that condescension going.
When we go to my daughter's a competitive cheerleader. I'll never forget this conversation as long as I live. My daughter's a competitive cheerleader, so we always end up in these obscure places all around the country, mostly in Jersey. We end up in Atlantic City a lot. I like Atlantic City. I like going to Oceans. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a cool spot. You go out there, have some fun, right? Like it's a cool place to have some adult fun with the kids go with. So we're at dinner. The kids are at one table, all the adults are at another table. It is the most diverse table. We look like the fucking United Nations. It's like me and my wife, a black couple, it's an Indian couple, it's a Muslim couple, it's white couples, it's Jewish couples. Like we're just all sitting there eating, drinking, whatever. And somebody gets on the topic of furries. And
Weird.
And how furries.
99% of furries are Democrats, guaranteed.
But then furries turn
There's
into...
not one single Republican furry.
But then furries turned into a whole conversation about just gender identity and everything else. Chris, every single person at the table does not understand it. They think it's strange.
That's cool.
It's not nobody being transphobic.
That's cool.
They just don't understand. They want to know why is this just being pushed on kids. Like they want to know. Like they're trying to figure. They don't want the teachers talking to their kids about it. Like,
hey,
this
so
is
if a
just
furry,
parents talking.
imagine we were saying that about furries, and then furries was like, you know what it sounds like while they're sitting in they got a lion costume on, right? And they're looking at you and be like, thou doth protest too much. Sounds like you want to be a furry. Sounds like you want to dress up as a squirrel. No, I don't. You're just a grown-ass man dressed as a possum walking around a fucking casino. That's weird.
But Chris and Schulz, y'all forgetting one thing about this conversation. I said it was parents at the table. You know who got the biggest issue with this shit? The women. So are they fraggle maggots?
Because we've been telling them for years, stop being furry down there. Now all of a sudden, furries is it.
All I'm simply saying is we spend too much time talking about micros and not enough time talking about macros.
Well, micros might be macro to us.
They are during an election. But Chris, we're talking about the Democrats, though.
So here's the thing. To me, it's not about a single issue. It's not about furries. It's not about pronouns. It's not about whatever. All these issues are indicative of a greater cultural shift that lacks common sense for people. Here's what I'm trying to say. Most of us don't really have corporate jobs here. I mean, I guess you guys do work for a corporation, but
definitely have a corporate
you
job.
get to do whatever the fuck you guys want. The average person that just walks in, they're doing sales at iHeart or whatever, they're walking around and they're going, okay, should I start with my pronouns today? Can I make this joke around these people? Am I allowed to wear these shoes? Are these shoes considered racist? Like, what is going on? Am I culturally appropriating if I get cornrows? Like, what the fuck?
I just taught a class at a major university where I'm supposed to give my pronouns at the start of the class. You know what I did?
What?
I said, my name's Chris Morrow. I don't say he, she.
So you said, fuck him.
I said, fuck it. It's goofy. I know it's goofy.
So, Chris, why are you mad at me? You're proving Andrew's point.
I just handled it in 1 second. I just said Chris Morrow and I kept it moving.
But yeah, but you didn't get challenged. What if one of those little motherfuckers would have been like, excuse me.
Yeah.
What is your pronoun?
I'd be like, I don't think it's important for me to share that.
Talk that shit,
can I not
MAGA.
I'm disagreeing with
Talk that shit,
it's
MAGA.
Not a big fucking issue.
My point is this.
I got protested at Harvard for that shit, Joe. I got protested at Harvard.
And now what's happened to Harvard?
Story.
Now
I went to Harvard and they was like, Charlemagne, these kids think you're transphobic, you're homophobic. I'm like, why? Let's have a discussion about it. I'm like, let's not run from it. Let's not just let them be mad. They can come in. I'm a big boy. I can take the heat. Until we sit down and have the conversation.
And then what happened?
So why I want to, you know what? By the way, that was like 8 years ago. I want to know where all them little motherfuckers are now.
Where are they?
So I go.
They working for Pfizer.
Why am I transphobic and homophobic? One kid stands up and goes, because you said, how come people can understand Caitlyn Jenner but don't understand Rachel Dolezal? Right? Because if you remember, it was a back-to-back weeks. Caitlyn was 1 week, then Rachel Dolezal came out the next week. All I simply said was, hey, if Caitlyn says she identifies as a woman and Rachel saying she identifies as black, why shit on Rachel?
Gender and race are both social constructs.
To me, that's what I would think. Like, that's common sense. Guess what the second thing was? Okay, so that was transphobic. Why am I homophobic? Because you was interviewing Young M.A. and you said to Young M.A., hey, shorty give you head and she deep throat. But how? And so Young M.A. said with a strap on. And you said, isn't that like getting a tattoo on a fake arm and acting like it hurts? So that makes me homophobic and transphobic?
No, it makes you have common sense.
I'm just asking some questions here.
Do you see? And that's why Uncle Donnie T is about to take their endowments. Bye. Bye, Harvard. Bye. Bye, Uncle Donnie T is about to take that endowment so you could stop teaching these nonsense shit bull. They stop destroying these Ivy League
And this was before Trump.
And now
this was like 7, 8 years ago.
Snatch
maybe
endowments.
Longer.
Snatch your endowments.
Yeah, buddy. Uncle Donald Trump is coming to give all these woke liberal idiots a spoonful of their medicine. And the medicine is called common sense. So what do you think? Is Andrew Schulz making a valid point about the Democrats' focus on cultural issues? Or is Charlemagne's friend right to defend their principles? Let me know in the comments below. This is a conversation we all need to have. And if you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on the stories shaping today's media landscape.